Yes, friends. First, I want to thank you all for having the patience due to a little technical difficulties. But during the period of the time while we are trying to get everything together, I was getting some telephone call, very disturbing. Why am I doing this? Leave them alone. And most of them are from Guyanese people. Let the Venezuelan kill the black police them. This is how serious this thing is. And the military. Why am I giving condolence to the few men who die in the chapel? Karaya, you're not tired what they have done to you and your son? These people, and I mean, I wouldn't use the word, but to be honest, if I listen to these people, I would join the other side, but I'm a Guyanese. And I know not all Indian hurt us or all black people. And those who hurt us by the will of God, they will find their days. They are not going to escape it. Because the curse of darkness will be on their children. Now, when I look upon this really and see what is happening, it only tells me how bitter it is this to race against each other in Guyana. And who caused it? The late Chetty Jagan and Mr. Lyndon Sampson Forbes Burnham. I know a lot of you don't want to hear the truth. And I want to make it clear, when you, the black race, will get up of this emancipation and start talking about nationalism and national rights, and you, Indian, will stop talking about their arrival and start talking about the rights of your country. Whatever happened under the late Forbes Burnham and the black regime who ruled Guyana in an apartheid system, under Burnham, of them who was still illiterate, ignorant, and very racial in the military and the police clothes and in the courthouse. They have their days coming, and you all know them. But what about the Indian who bribe them, who give them that message who to destroy because they need a job? Friends, but that does not give me the rights with all what they've done to me to say that Venezuela or any other country must invade Guyana for a piece of land. Which brings me here today to ask this question. Nicolas Maduro had a referendum and he's claiming 60% of Guyana. I want to ask Mr. Maduro a question, if someone could get it to him. I have nothing against the man. Because when a nation is divided, your enemy, they have a field day. And to be honest, in Venezuela, no Guyanese who living there would support the Guyana government in order to defeat Venezuela, when in Guyana they couldn't get a piece of land to build a house. They were treated like nobody. And in Venezuela, they were given something and treated as human beings. Friends, I remember one thing that a man named Jesus told his followers. In his father's mansion, there are many rooms. And he's going to go to prepare it for them. If it will be the case, if I remember the scripture right. But fortunately for the Indians in Guyana and others from Guyana, Hugo Chavez didn't have to wait on heaven to give them a room in a mansion. He gave them land to build their house and help them with money, free water, and light. Now, which brings me back to understand what's going on here. But what is right and what is wrong. These two major races. You one who claiming emancipated, you don't like the white people, you don't like the Chinese, you don't like nobody, not even some of your own. Because the late Walter Rodney was an honorable young black man. Winnie Dublin and many more who stand up against Burnham. Karen D'Souza. I quite agree, plenty of your women was raped, men was killed. A lot of bad things happened, but you cannot blame all the nation, the whole nation for that. Or there are a lot of good black people, and a lot of them are in your family. You have a lot of Indians who are very mischievous, corrupt, dangerous, I don't know what name to give them. I will rather lie next to a lion, and I know from 1 to 10, my life will survive 8 times than to lie next to a tiger. So you Indian must understand what you're saying. Both races have their fault until you all accept Guyana to be the land where you were born and grew. Friends, today in Venezuela, Mr. Maduro, Nicolas Maduro, is claiming 60% of Guyana. He's going to create a big problem for the nation that is already going through problem already, where millions already are fleeing all over to Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, coming to the United States plus Guyana and elsewhere. I oppose the young man in Guyana that stripped the Venezuelan couple. I think if that government was fair in Guyana and believe in humanity, I would have executed that young Indian bastard for what he have done there, because he was playing with the life of the others. How do we know that Nicolas Maduro did not see that information and acted on that? And I cannot blame him. Because we in Guyana believe that we're big and bad, but y'all are not bad. Y'all are not big. Because y'all are still not a Guyanese to defend your country. You, the black race, you have a lot of problem with you. You don't like no race. You don't even like the Chinese. Under the David Grange administration, that Chinese woman was driving a minibus in Georgetown. She went to the market. She parked when the police walked up to her, but there were many other minibus and car parked there. China have just given motorcycle, cameras, clothes, and maybe some vehicle to the Guyana government. And that black woman, and many more, insult that and humiliate the Chinese woman. And that's not all. They use the word that I am going to quote. This is not China. And what would they would not do with her? If David Granger was a leader, he should have ordered the arrest of all of them and take them to the seawall and execute them, because they have just caused an enemy of a nation called China who is helping. I didn't see Africa and the Caribbean help Guyana. Friends, a lot of illiterate, stupid people have created this problem on both sides of the fence. I remember as a little boy, an Indian asked me, if they say everybody got to go back respectfully to the country from which they're origin from, young man, where will you go? It was on the Coca, the place where they kept shrimps and fish. I used to go and hang out there, play there, swim there. I look at him and I says, I can't go nowhere but stay right here, because I mix. He said, Indian will go to India, Africans will go to Africa. Chinese will go to Chinese, Portuguese will go to Portugal. Where will you go, son? A old black man by the name of Mr. Lunk and Mr. Cyrus, two of them insulting, and said to him, Mr. John, he's an Indian, what are you telling this young man? So you Indian got a problem with your mouth. And I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of good one amongst you, keep away from y'all. Okay? Today in Venezuela, Mr. Maduro would like to make his claim known. And yes, my advice that if he try that, he will open up a can of worms, because that will cause the domino effect. Because from Alaska to Argentina and the Falkland was owned by another race called the indigenous people. Was conquered by dangerous people, the pirates, who's Spanish, the Portuguese, the European also, the French, the British, the Hollandese, and I think of Scandinavian too. But you was not there. Your ancestor wasn't there. There was a nation there called the Amerindian. Whether you call them Arawak or whatever, they were there. That Columbus said he discovered, followed by Juan Martin, who spread the story about the El Dorado city and the street is paved of gold. But those men were criminals. So Walter Raleigh becomes Sir when the great-grandmother of Queen Elizabeth tell him go down on India and knight him because he came back all the gold when he was robbing the Spanish ship in the Atlantic Ocean and based in Jamaica. My friends, the land of Venezuela do not belong to Maduro neither nor the Spanish. If Spain have given up as an independent, and accept the treaty from Britain or Dutch or whoever, it must remain like that because all sides is accepting something don't belong to them. So Mr. Maduro, listen carefully. If the Spanish Queen Isabella had been the stairway to heaven and went in there with Columbus and others, she would have occupied and put a flag in heaven. God would have thrown you Spanish out so quick. Or the British, or the French, or the Portuguese. Friends, my advice to Maduro, you will go down in history and end up like Saddam Hussein because you are creating your own destiny. And for the young Spanish people in Venezuela, who you call Venezuelan, you are all grandchildren of pirates and others. And those who born there, you are the great-grandchildren of blood on your hands, which means your Spanish people in Spain annihilate the native, who's the indigenous people, as much as what America do to take the United States where all of us are living and enjoying. But we are the ones who forgot that we are in a country, in Canada or anyway, where other things had happened to people who injustice was happened to them. So if the Dutch got a lot of forts on the Essequibo coast, I think one is in Leg 1, and some other places got about 5. And if the British and the Dutch had come to an agreement, and it was handed over to them and was signed by the treaty of the Spanish owners at the time, as you claim, then all of them commit genocides against the indigenous people. And today, Mr. Maduro should get Spain, Britain, France, and Dutch to come back to the treaty since he wanted to be the king to claim what is right. But he's not an indigenous nation. And therefore, he's accepting stolen property. As I recall in the law books, he who received stolen property is guilty more than the man that stole it, much less the massacre of the indigenous people. So I urge Mr. Nicolas Maduro and his comrades, be careful what you're treading on. The land belongs to the indigenous people as much as Guyana. Because when the blacks ruled Guyana, it's all the black power movements and they believe there was everything. But again, you cannot say all of them because plenty of them went against Barnum. Rodney was murdered. Omawali maybe went back where he went. Diane, maybe she died. Karen D'Souza may be still there. David Hines, I see talking about history and the land belonged to the ancestors. Well, he also got to understand the land is in Africa. And if he was an Indian, it is in India. Since knowing you are claiming emancipation and the other one is claiming their arrival. I am see on the news the Barbados Prime Minister in England talking about reparation for the slave trade. If anybody should ask for that, is the mainland of Africa where the slave came from. They should have voted her out immediately because she's causing a division amongst this nation. If we want to be fair, then all black people should go back to Africa, all Indian back to India, Chinese to China, and give the Amerindian their country. Right, Maduro? Right, Mr. President Ali and your advisors? Come on, man. Tell me, that's why I'm going to ask Maduro and Mr. Ali and others. What will it profit you to fight for a country that the great ancestor of Spain slaughtered their people and take it? And Britain do the same. And if they mark a decision concerning this is your boundary and that is your boundary, and you accept it then, what causing the problem now? That you, Mr. Nicolas Maduro, is claiming land that you born and meet. What about all the slaughtering and the crime that was committed? But these things happen. It's a wake-up call. But I'm going to urge the Guyanese and the Venezuelans. All who living out of Spain are Spanish, as they say, that's a language, but from Spain ancestrally, Portugal, England, France, and others, living along Central and South America, and our black brothers and Indians, and the Caribbean, you should live together humbly, unite and enjoy the thing, and look for the native Indians, who's the Amerindian, the indigenous people, and give them position, because you are inheriting stolen property. And therefore none of you have a right to it. So my friend, I do hope it will not come into that confrontation, because due to what happened and the interruption that I just went through, and on my phone I was getting a lot of bad message, why am I doing this? Because I grew up knowing British Guyana. Then it became the Republic of Guyana, cooperating Republic of Guyana. That is not cooperating. That's nonsense. But when one race go against another, God sometimes does provide somebody else to assist, and then they fall in that category to wipe their enemy out. Understand what I'm saying here? Your politicians have misled you in Guyana. Suriname got 40-something thousand. Why they don't behave like you in Guyana? Indians love to thief land. You love the Obia man. Maybe Mr. Maduro is a blessing in disguise. Some call me and tell me he shouldn't take 60%, he should take the whole country. And these are Indians. I get 4 calls from black people. They say, Mr. Correa, you are doing good. Keep it up. Good luck. I don't listen to people what they are telling you. Because Indians are revengeful. But they are so spiteful. And they are the ones sometimes create some of the biggest problems. If you humiliate their own, beat and kill your own parents for land. And if you are a woman trying to put voodoo on your husband to control him. And if it's your brother, you want to kill them for land. My dear God. Then you have another man, Mr. Maduro. I want to check his DNA, see if he's an Indian too. Friends, I do hope it will not come into a confrontation. Imagine the soldiers die in the chopper, the helicopter. And I just mentioned it, and I get 2 cars out. While we had a little technical difficulties. Why am I talking about them? And the word they use, I wouldn't use it. But I'm going to give you the last couple, they should all dead. Friends, that's how serious it is. But again, the people who are saying that are the people who was hurt by the black people, but they was not hurt by all of them. There were black people stand up with discipline. And the Indians, there are a lot of decent ones too, they don't get involved in this. Maybe this is a wake-up call for both major races to come together. And if Mr. Barajak, the advisor to the president, have a little IQ and understand the truth, he would have get the 9 Amerindian tribes, pull them together, and have demonstration claiming Venezuela to because it's their country. Columbus come there 1492. Juan Martin was there, and many more. Imagine if Haiti got problem with Dominican Republic over a little river. When one is from Africa and one is from Spain, my friend. This is not right. From Cuba to all the Caribbean islands is Africans and Spanish dominated. But we drove the European out of Africa. We see what Mugabe done. We see what Idi Amin done when he drove the Indians out of Uganda. We are looking what Burma do now by sending the Indians out. And we are also looking in India what was divided because of religion. When will this ever stop? My friends, no man will inherit this earth. The earth will inherit all of us. Why fighting over something, especially when it is not yours? If anybody have to come to the table, it have to be Britain, France, Dutch, Spain, Portugal, all of them who was the pirates on the ocean. Okay? I remember when the Ukraine war began and the United Nations had the sitting and everybody was condemning Russia over the border of Ukraine after Gorbachev set free those countries when the late Ronald Reagan was alive and negotiate the freedom for people. And he says, tear that wall down. Of Germany, today they are one again. You know, East and West no more. Friends, in every nation, there's good and bad. America do a lot of good, but they do bad too. But they have to be the police of the world to protect themselves. But you blacks out of Africa, stop, my advice to you, stop talking about slavery and you want reparation. You hear? You are going to spark and open up something you would not like, because if these people come together, learn from World War I and World War II, okay? If you all want to commit suicide, then you could continue. They could say if you want reparation, take everything you got, put you back on a boat and send you back to Africa on the shore and dump you. You lose all your rights, you speak their language. You will give up all your life, your luxury. And when they drop you off, they must bring 10 times the amount from there who are civilized now to understand they need the same thing that you are condemning and you want to go back into the jungle. Civilization takes the part. And you are fortunate to be here, to enjoy the hospitality from all the people who died 1,100 years ago. You are enjoying it. Three-piece suit, mink, high-heel shoes, guitar, saxophone, drum, pilot, doctor, scientist, kicking ball, great musician. You want to surrender that. Do you know how many billionaires and millionaires in the black South of Africa living in America, England? Do you know how many professors and pilots and doctors? Do you want to change history? Did the Europeans told you how much of them get killed in England and France and other? They used to cut off the head of the kings. Friends, stop listening to his story. And even in the Bible, God's so great, they allow him to kill his son Jesus, as they say. He rise from the dead. All the prophets, many of them were sold as slaves. So wake to hell up. In this young generation, it's time for we to unite and make the world that we are living in a better place and love and respect one another, regardless of religion or languages, and share our hospitality. If the animals can live together in the jungle, and we or the highest standard of animal cannot live together with the own family, how can we live with our neighbors? So I ask of you here today, let's unite and defend Guyana. Put all the past behind. God will give you it, but we need a national front government where an Amerindian man and woman will be the head of the country, and he can claim any part of the mainland of Central and South America and the Caribbean because it is his own, his ancestor own. Because we have seen what Africa have done. They chased the white man out of Mugabe country. In South Africa, well, there's a big problem because of apartheid in the past. But they also is on the verge of leaving. We also see what Burma do. And we see what India do because of religion. Let me tell you, it can happen again, but this time it may be so bad. The world will smell so stink with human flesh if you all push the wrong button. You think these nuclear bombs stand by there for nothing, friends? That Kenyan ambassador, the representative of Kenya who was in the UN during the war between Ukraine, when it began, he used a word that you almost go to sleep with it. He told them, when his turn come to speak, what is amazing, it was the European who make borders and divide country, while we were living with our family peacefully. Today we become a different nation by boundary. and you draw a boundary in the Caribbean, in the Americas, and in Africa, but you cannot live by your own standard. It was a slap in the face of the European without firing a bullet. That man should have been given a Nobel Prize because he speaks the truth. He didn't say kill, he didn't say fight, he speaks the truth. The whole of Africa is divided. Different language, different culture. India is divided with religion. And Pakistan and Afghanistan, but yet you Indian can't understand. The Spanish is divided. And if Maduro should be successful with this nonsense, from Mexico to Argentina, you will have the same problem. Why waste money for guns and bombs and kill each other when we could make this world a better place, worship our God, take care of our family, and hope for the return if there is a heaven? Come on, where are the priests? But I tell you here today, I predict this might be the end of Nicolas Maduro. I hope he don't get to that. Saddam invaded Kuwait. Long after, when the world come against, he had to leave. He was hanged. Gaddafi, a good man, was murdered in the gutter. Chavez, a great soul, was killed in Cuba, but the excuse is he died with cancer. Isn't this amazing, like the Shah? Friends, it's something bigger than us. Let's stop the fighting of the Venezuelans with nonsense, and the Guyanese and others. Guyana needs population. Take it from Africa, India, and others from any part of the world who are looking for a place to take care of their family, worship their God, but let's live in unity amongst our fellow brothers and sisters. Regardless of their language or their culture, we are all human. My name is George Correa, and I'm your host. Thank you for your patience. And if I offend you, I apologize, because I'm not responsible for your intelligence. Thank you, and have a good day. May God, Bhagwan, or Allah be with all of us. Peace.